It converts the soul.
God delights in his law.
God delights in it. So, you know, it's amazing. So it's perfect. It's holy. It converts the soul. The Most High delights in it. But then we're told that it's done away with. So his delight is done away with. His converting the soul is done away with. His holiness is done away with. All right? It being spiritual is done away with. That's when people say that the law is done away with. That's what you're saying. All right. So let's look at some foundational scriptures. I hate preaching from my heart. I used to write stuff down. This is gonna get us in trouble one day because with the power gonna be off, we'll be looking crazy. And I'll be like, well, y'all gonna have to pray for me that the Lord bring everything back to my man. All right. So I want to look at something that's a foundational scripture when concerning the law. Deuteronomy chapter 4, verses 5 through 7. I don't mind if people read. Anybody want to read? Deuteronomy chapter 4, verses 5 through 7. And we've heard some of these scriptures. We've heard. I'm going to keep rehearsing them to you. I'm going to keep rehearsing them to you because I want these things to be sanctified in your spirit.
Yes.
I want these things to be in you. One of my other elders when I was at New Life said, "Get this in your spirit." Didn't get that. God, thank you. I want this in your spirit because you're going to continue to have an ongoing fight when it concerns the law. Period. And what I want to share with you today is I want you to change your mind and how you look at the law. And I want you to look at the law through how Yahuah intended it to be. All right? So Deuteronomy chapter 4, verses 5 through 7. Anybody got it?
Devarim 4 says, "See, I have taught you laws and right rulings, as Yah, my Elohim, commanded me to do thus in the land which you go to possess. And you shall guard and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding."
All right. Go to verse 5 again.
Verse 5, "See, I have taught you laws and right rulings, as Yah, my Elohim."
Stop right here. So we know first and foremost, Moshe taught the people by the Spirit of Yah, statutes and judgments. Statutes and judgments. So when we get into the New Testament, Israel, under the captivity of the Romans, is still operating in what?
Statutes and judgment.
Come on with me now. Statutes and what?
Judgment.
All right, now listen. You said some shit now. Keep going.
"As Yah, my Elohim, commanded me to do thus in the land which you go to possess."
All right, so here's the point that we want to make step out. These laws that we're going to be done in the land in which we possess. But in the end, who commanded it? Who commanded it?
Yeah.
So when somebody says the law is done away with, we're going to tell them who commanded us to keep it? That's right. Jay's yo. Come on up here. All right. Anybody got a stick? Says, "Feed us the child and save the soul." That's the law. Keep going. I ain't going to do that. Somebody can give me a rest.
Verse 6, "And ye shall guard and do them, for this is your wisdom."
So stop right there. So let's look at this. Yahuah's intent of the law was to be our wisdom. Say wisdom.
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 All right. Wisdom. Keep going.
"And your understanding before the eyes of all the peoples who hear all these laws, and they shall say, only a wise and understanding people is the great nation."
So this is so important about the law, man. It makes you wise. It grants you wisdom. It gives you understanding. And what else did it say? In the sight of the nations. So this lets me know when the Most High gave this law was to set them apart. When we talk about, when we were in our Christian walk, we would talk about being holy, right? To be set apart, right? As we want to say in the scriptures, to be meat for the master's use. But here's the thing that I've come to discover. in my understanding of what holiness truly is, if I'm going to be holy, is there some instructions on how to be holy?
Yes.
Anybody? Is there instructions? Yes. We all agree that if I'm going to be holy, there are things that are taught to define what holiness is, right? And we said earlier that the law was what?
Holy.
So if the law is holy and I want to manifest holiness, I need to walk out a set of instructions, correct? All right. So this was the thing that was going to be done that we were going to do in the midst of the other nations. What did it say? What did it say? Verse 6 again.
And you shall guard and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding before the eyes of the people who hear all these laws.
So stop. The other nations are going to hear this. Because you know why? Unlike the other nations, our Elohim is real. He's manifested himself. You got to think about this. The other nations have heard how Elohim himself exemplified miracles in pulling Israel out of their captivity. So they know this. All right? So they're seeing that Elohim is part of the Red Sea. He's giving them the cloud by day. He's giving them the moon by night. He's done all these things. He's manifested his power in his people. So now that Elohim has done this, he's given a group of people some standards. All right? Finish that last part.
And they shall say, only a wise and understanding people is this great nation.
So understand this. When we walk in the law that the Most High has given us, they're going to say you're great.
Right.
They're going to say you're an understanding people. All right? Yes.
I think what gets lost in that promise is the whole narrative. I think like the narrative about the Israelites awakening is that it's black power or black theology.
Right.
So when you look at a scripture like that and it says, you'll be great, you'll be great in the sight of the nation, that greatness is not a greatness that we boast in.
Right.
But it's a greatness that brings honor and glory to Yah.
That's right.
It's his purpose and his reflection in the earth. So that whole content, when people read that, they're like, oh, y'all think y'all better than everybody. Oh, y'all just that God just loves y'all more than you love. It's not about that.
Right.
It's about his intention in the earth. And so I just think that's important for us to understand.
Also, Preacher Thomas, the law was always, Israel always got judged as a nation. So
Right.
when we see that Israel, when people say, well, no man can keep the law, well, we know Israel as a nation failed.
Right.
But they were always righteous ones among the nation that was walking in Torah in its fullness.
That's right. It's true. All right. Finish that up. Verse 7.
Read verse 7. For what great nation is there which has Elohim so near to it, as Yahuah our Elohim is to us, whenever we call on him?
That was it. Verse 8.
And what great nation is there that has such laws and righteous right rulings, like all this Torah which I set before you this day?
Verse 9. Foundation. Let's go.
Only guard yourself and guard your life diligently, lest you forget the words your eyes have seen, and lest they turn aside from your heart all the days of your life. And ye shall make them known to your children and your grandchildren, the day when you stood before Yahuah, your Elohim, and Horeb. Yahuah said to me, assemble the people to me.
So stop right there. So wanted to go back up to verse 9, but it's very key. It says, but teach them thy sons and thy son's son and thy son's sons. So the law was something that Israel was supposed to be teaching, and once again, it made us great in the midst of the nation. It set us apart. All right. So turn with me to Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 24 and 25. You got to understand about the law too, that was the only way that the Most High was going to dwell with Israel. It's like, I don't want to use that word, but I'll just say the law is like a conduit, all right? Yahuah's presence came down only when we obeyed. All right. Other than that, when Israel would transgress the law, Yahuah wasn't coming down. What was coming down was curses that was made when he established his covenant. And the law is part of that covenant. So Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 24 and 25.
Devarim chapter 6, 24, 25. And Yahuah commanded us to do all these laws, to fear Yahuah our Elohim, for our good always, to keep us alive as it is today.
So understand this. The intent of the law that Yahuah gave us was to preserve us.
Right.
It was to keep us. It was his goodness towards us. Keep going.
And it is righteousness for us when we guard to do all his commandments.
So, it's funny. I remember, being under Christian, and I would always read, hunger and thirst after righteousness, you shall be filled. And so we just thinking of righteousness as being in the right standing with God, which is true. But I begin to think, well, we got to begin to understand what does righteousness look like for the Most High? Like, what does he say that righteousness is? Read it one more time. Verse 25.
And it is righteousness for us when we guard to do all his commandments.
So understand this. Understand this, family. Mishpakat. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments. So that is how the Most High defines righteousness. Righteousness is when we walk out his commandments. Say righteousness.
Righteousness
is when we walk out his commandments. So anytime you hear you dialogue with family and this and that, and they'll say, well, you got to be righteous. You ask them, what is righteousness? And then when they don't know, you tell them righteousness is what?
How we walk out
All the commandments. Righteousness is walking out all the commandments. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe. That word observe is to do all things commanded before Yahuah Elohim as he have commanded us. So in the end, the law was to preserve us, it was to keep us, and it was good towards us. So sometimes people say, well, the law is bad. No, the law was never bad. It's funny. If the law is bad, then why are we still getting cursed? If the law is bad, if it sets us apart, and it's the way that the Most High communicates with us, why was something that he gave us to be good towards be so bad? All right. Deuteronomy 8 and 2. Now, I'm going to tell you what the law also did. It dealt with your heart. Deuteronomy 8 and 2.
And you shall remember that Yahuah, your Elohim, led you all the way these 40 years in the wilderness, to humble you, prove you, to know what is in your heart, whether you guard his commands or not.
So understand this. The law was there to prove us.
That's right.
A lot of times we'll say that we love Yah, and we love God and everything else, but there are things that the Most High puts in our life to prove us. The law is that thing to prove our heart.
Right.
It says to prove thee and to know what's in thy heart. Listen, when you don't really have a desire to know the law, you really don't have a desire to know God. Let me say that one more time. When you do not have a desire to know the law, which the law is Yahuah's mind, is his intention, is his thought, is the way he thinks, you don't really want to know his heart. All right? And he said, why is he proving us? Because he wants to make sure that which he's laid in your heart, you're going to walk in. We know that Isaiah talks about that out of the heart comes the abundance of life. And so what are those things? If we don't have the law in our heart, then there's things that are evil, of evil imaginations and wickedness, and there are things that we're going to do that are outside the law if the law's not in our heart. All right? So it was to prove us. It was to humble us. Joshua 1 and 8. This is Joshua going into the land of Canaan. All right? They have Moses is dead. My servant Moses is dead. Hey, Most High's finna talk to Joshua. He's finna encourage him. Joshua has the law. They're about to enter in. Remember, we read that Deuteronomy 4, that when you get the law, which is your wisdom and your understanding, hey, you about to go into the land. This is what's gonna make you, this is what's gonna set you apart. This is what's gonna cause you to be a light to the nation. You ever thought about when we say, let your light shine before men that they'll see the good works? Like, what does that really mean? So you mean to tell me, I thought we just had to have faith alone. You mean there's some good works? Yes, and that good works is contained in the law. All right, Joshua 1:8.
1:8.
Yes, sir.
Do not let this book of the Torah depart from your mouth, but you shall meditate on it day and night, so that you guard to do according to all that is written in it. For then you shall make your way prosperous and act wisely.
So you mean to tell me if the law is done away with, then good success is done away with, family? Think about that. So, since the law is done away with, just give, what we supposed to just meditate on then? Get rid of meditation. Don't do it. Not you, if you don't do it. You ain't gonna have no success. The book of the law shall not depart out of thy mouth, but thou shalt meditate day and night, thou mayest observe to do according to all that is written, for then thou shalt make thy ways prosperous. Thy ways, think about this, thy ways. Everything that we put our hands to is going to prosper. So you got to think about this. Now, some people, I always hear this, well, I'm prospering already. I can say I'm prospering, but I got a good job. My wife did a good job, but we still behind. I ain't in my kingship and royalty, okay? I would love to get my wife off of her job. Ain't that right, honey? Yes, I have a baby on the way. She would love to get off her job. Now she got about 2 more years and she can come off. I'm just gonna have to, unless I'm in my kingship role, I'm gonna have to obey the laws of this land too. I'm gonna have to work 2 jobs, be able to take care of these children. But if I know if I meditate upon his law, he's gonna give me great success and he's gonna open the door. Amen? Come. All right. Psalms 1 and 2. Let's talk about it. You know what? We've been trained so long in church, maybe per se. I don't say church for that, but we've been trained so long in having a distorted view about the law. The scriptures have been here all the time. We're supposed to take a delight in it. So once again, it sets us apart. It gives us wisdom. It gives us understanding. It proves our heart. And then the Most High is saying, I want y'all to take a delight in this. Wow. So Psalms 1 and 2. Oh, boom. And y'all come in anytime.
I think what we got to realize too with that is when we think of, when we go back to the Psalms 83 and the conspiracy of the nation,
Right.
And the schemes that have been put in place. I mean, when we think of schemes and things, we think of automatically, we think of the systems that we have to participate in.
Right.
How most of these systems are opposed to us. But it's not just these systems. These systems have a function and they create a mindset.
Right.
And the way you think about yourself, the way you think about what the road to success is, all of these systems that are in place are ultimately to take us away from God.
Right.
To cause us to not think on Him, to cause us to not think on His ways, but to kind of lean to our own understanding and to lean on the ways of man. And what we gotta recognize as a nation, as Israel, as His chosen, is that that's only going to lead us to destruction. That's always going to produce, a situation for us where we are less, not above, but beneath. When you look at the covenant, we're above and not beneath. We're the lender and not the borrower. But everything for us right now is opposite. We're the borrower, not the lender. We're beneath, not above. And it's because the systems in place take us away from the systems of the Most High and what He's outlined for us. So, and we think, the way we think is like contrary to the laws of God.
So let me throw some out. What are some things in this captivity that we live in that cause us to not fall in complete obedience to the law? Anybody? Yes.
The fact that we don't create, control, distribute any of our own resources. We succumb to want and need from the system that has us oppressed.
Anybody else? Think about this. Exodus 31 and 16 says He's given us the Sabbath. The Sabbath is a perpetual covenant. A perpetual covenant unto Israel. In America, what is the so-called day of rest under any religious system?
Sunday.
All right. So that causes us to be in disobedience to the Most High's law, which causes us to break the covenant. All right. Let's think about something else. Like, let's think about what we eat. Now, I love pepperoni and stuff, but Byron was like, when we first came into it, it's like, yeah, man, you gotta keep the law. Israel, keep the law. It's just exciting, right? He's like, hey, you gotta come off that pizza. Hold up. I like pepperoni. All right? I remember going there and I was like, you sure pepperoni got pork in it? No, it got pork in it, Hey, it was hard for my wife because, my wife and my sis back there, Sister Carla, they would have at the house, and me and Gene hated, but they would have the crabs cracking. And you pull the meat out and all this, and so when we started talking about, hey, honey, the law says you can't eat that stuff, she was like, oh, the Lord ain't dealt with my heart. So once again, here's something in place that causes us. It's simple. Like we really don't think of the dietary laws being like something that the Most High is really judging. But like when I started looking at Isaiah, like he really judges that stuff. Wow. Like he's really going to judge this. So being in this land, I know we think it's just not that serious, but for Israel, if we're going to be set apart, if we want to have his heart, if we're going to say Most High approve us, we want to walk in obedience, then just simple thing as your dietary, embracing the dietary laws is important. Plus, once again, it's going life. I ain't gonna lie, I have felt a whole lot better coming off certain foods. Come on. Then I go to the store, I was giving my wife this morning. I said, honey, that granola bar is genetically engineered. Don't buy that one right there. Don't buy that one. My sister Natalie sent my wife certain foods. Now, I used to buy boxes of frosted shredded wheats. You done told my wife we got pork in it. I done seen it. I was like, well, what type of cereal we gonna eat? I guess we just gonna eat oatmeal. Oatmeal and waffles. Hey, don't tell me some stuff is in waffle. Now, I know during the time of Passover, unleavened bread and stuff. But please don't tell me there's some pigs and waffles, egg and waffles, Come on. Yes.
It broke my heart. I hadn't realized that ribs were actually pork. I'm like, excuse me?
That's my baby.
That's beef ribs exist.
I didn't know no such thing as beef ribs existed anyway. I ate them. It's amazing. You start cutting away. You used to go to certain restaurants. Ooh, boy, that's going to be some steak or something. And I can tell you now, I don't know about y'all. For me, it was hard because I enjoy eating. I ain't like no crab like my wife. I don't like that. Psalms 1 and 2.
Tehillim 1. Blessed is the man who shall not walk in the counsel of the wrong, and shall not stand in the path of sinners, and shall not sit in the seat of scoffers.
Verse 2, get this in your spirit.
But his delight.
His what?
Delight.
His what?
Delight.
Okay.
Delight.
Okay.
Is in the Torah
all right.
of Yahuah, and he meditates in his Torah day and night.
So family, when it comes to Yahuah's law, he wants us. He desires us. He's going to push us. He's going to draw us to know that his law is a delight. And it really is a delight. All right, now I know you do not have this scripture. But one thing I began to, when I got into the Apocrypha, the law, when Moses had gave the law, Moses commanded it to be a heritage unto Israel. So I'm going to turn this right here. I know I'm mad that I don't have an app. I'm going to remind me to buy Apple TV, so I can put it on the board. It look good. But this, Ecclesiastes 24 and 23, you can write that down if you have the Apocrypha, or simply just Google it up. Ecclesiastes 24 and 23, which is also the Wisdom of Solomon. All right? It says, and all these things are in the book of the covenant of the Most High Yah, even the law which Moses commanded for a heritage.
Right.
Say heritage.
Heritage.
The law is your heritage, family.
That's right.
The law is your heritage. And in Jeremiah 17:4, it says you was going to discontinue from it, Junior. All right? It says the law which Moses commanded a heritage unto the congregations. Say congregations.
Congregation
Of Jacob.
of Jacob.
Hallelujah. All right.
What was that?
Ecclesiastes 24:23. Law's your heritage. That's right. That's right. Law's your heritage. Read. I don't know. I just like them guys out there. Sometimes they be saying all the wall stuff that I do like watching. IUI scenes and car. I just like watching. I don't now listen. I don't agree with everything. I'm just saying it's fun.
Sit down.
Especially when they be dealing with Christians about
No.
the law. Yeah, the law,
If you
turn
wanna
away,
go in there, go.
Turn right in there. It's a delight. This is a delight in the law. So how the law does it? It'd be funny, boy. I'm like, man, we are so conditioned in any religious system. I'm just because I don't want anybody to think I'm just dog Christianity. But any religious system, we're so conditioned to be against something when the very book we got is like totally for it. 100%. All right? So, Psalms 119 verses 142. Psalms 119 verse 142. Family, we good?
Yeah.
All right, y'all ain't getting sleepy on there. All right. Psalms 119. Oh, verse 1. Get that verse 1. Get that verse 1.
Blessed are the perfect in the way who walk in the Torah of Yahuah.
So those that are going to be perfect in the way, those that have a desire to be perfect in the way, they're going to do what?
Walk in the Torah of Yahuah.
All right. So you got to be perfect in your ways. You got to walk in it. My scripture says, blessed are the undefiled.
Yes.
Blessed are the undefiled in the way who walk in the laws of Yahuah. So if you're going to be undefiled, if you're going to be set apart, my son's asleep. If you're going to be, what was the word you said?
Perfect in the way.
Perfect.
Perfect in the way.
All right. Undefiled and perfect in the way, set apart in all your ways, you're going to walk in the laws of Yahuah. Hallelujah. All right. Psalms 142. Psalms 119 verse 142. 142. Psalms 119 verses 142. When I found this one, I was like, man, I said, this scripture changed up the game for me. You mean to tell me I've been reading this Bible this whole time and I ain't seen that? Most High opened up my eyes for real on this one.
Tahillah 142. Your righteousness is righteousness.
So stop right there. What did we say the righteous? What did we say? How did the Most High define righteousness? What did he say it was?
Walking in all his commandments.
Walking in what?
In all his commandments.
So righteousness was what?
Walking in all his commandments.
That's right. Okay, keep going.
Your righteousness is righteousness forever, and your Torah is true.
Wow. So now we're going to find out that the law is true. So when we talk about, we'll say Hamashiach, but we'll just say Christ. He's the way, the truth, and the life. What we're saying is he's the way, he's the law, and the law gives what? Life. Read it one more time. Read it.
Your righteousness is Your righteousness is righteousness forever, and your Torah is true.
Torah is true. Family, remember this. Foundational. The law is true. The law is true. So when you hear statements of, I think it's in John 1, he says, for the law was given by Moses, but grace and truth what it's really saying is, we understand during the time of Moses, certain laws condemned you to death.
That's
And
right.
fornication condemned you to death. Adultery condemned you to death. The practicing of witchcraft condemned you to death. Not honoring the Sabbath probably it condemns you to death, family. So thank Yahuah for grace.
That's right.
But he's saying grace and truth, which is really grace and the law. So that is why when you see the woman caught in the act of adultery, the law said Most High Yahuah was correct when he told them, stone her, do it. But don't let you be transgressing the law. Do it.
Right.
Now, after that, they all scattered. He says, I'm not going to condemn you. So we see where grace stepped in. And I thank God for grace because, hey, I mean, how many of y'all thank the Most High for grace? I thank His Son to be in that grace for me.
Yes.
Hallelujah. Don't get me wrong now, because under these religious systems, they just say just frustrate grace and just sin. Just do what you want.
It's amazing too because in that context, they were in a captivity.
In a captivity.
They were under the influence of another nation and these ways being integrated into the way they were supposed to live as we are now. As they were when they came out of Egypt, I mean the law in that time of creating them a nation, there were things that had to be broken out of them. That's right. And God had to kind of just lay them on it like, listen, you gonna do this, you gonna die.
That's right. That's right. Psalms 19 and 7. And this is going to connect to what Paul said in, I'm going to say, Acts 3 and 19. I'll go to that. Psalms 19 and 7.
All right. Tehillim 7. The Torah of Yahuah is perfect, bringing back the being. The witness of Yahuah is trustworthy, making wise the simple.
So family,
It's one outside.
embracing the law brings a what? Read that one more time. Embracing the law does what?
Bring the Torah of Yahuah is perfect, bringing back the being.
Bringing back the what?
The being.
Wow. Bringing back the being, or as my Bible says, converting. So you mean to tell me that not just conversion ain't just having faith on Hamashiach. So I got to embrace the law, the faith, and the law to bring about a complete what? Being, or what? Conversion. Go to Acts 3 and 19. Peter knew this. Peter knew this. Acts 3 and 19.
3:19.
Yes, sir. What does it say?
Repent, therefore, and turn back for the blotting out of your sins, in order that times of refreshing might come from the presence of the Master,
Hallelujah.
and that he sends Yahushua Mashiach pre-appointed for you.
All right. So
3:19, here we go. Repent ye therefore and be converted.
be what?
Converted.
So once again, we remember that the law does what?
Convert the
So
soul.
the law is perfect and it does what?
Convert the soul.
So family, anytime somebody wants to say the law is done away with, just say that I guess you want to get rid of converting the soul.
Wow.
That's what you're saying. When I hear people say the law is done away with, so how did you convert your soul? Because you just can't just say it's just faith. Because when we go to Revelations 14 and 12, we're going to hear what is the patience of the saints. Faith in our Mashiach and keeping it. Listen, how people get around that?
Religion.
Y'all ever think about that? Like how? Like I'm sure. I see. Well, I'll be looking out, and I talk to pastors a lot. Y'all, you can ask them for this. I talk to pastors a lot. When I show them that scripture, I say, in the end, this right here is in Revelation. This I ain't even in the. Forget the Old Testament. Forget the Old Testament. I'm just gonna say forget it. In the New Testament, the end of the book, it says, faith in our Mashiach. I'm doing that, but you gotta complete this. The keeping of the commandments of Yah. And then you tell me at Revelation 22 that he's going to make a judgment on those that's keeping the commandments. In other words, he's going to put you in the lake of fire. Let's go to it. Revelation 22. I didn't have it up here. I just. And I understand, listen, family, I understand we got to be patient with those that are in the religious system because, unfortunately, they have been indoctrinated, they have been taught, and, Most High, their eyes have not been opened. Some of their hearts are stony, so you got to pray that the Most High Yah take away their heart of stone to give them a heart of flesh, because when you get a heart of flesh, Ezekiel 26 and 36 says, when you get that heart of flesh, then you can receive his precepts, his judgments, and his statutes. And so we'll go to that. So it was Revelations 22, verses 13. Start at verse 13. Somebody got it?
I am the Aleph and the Tav, the beginning and the end, the first and the last.
What's it say?
Blessed are those doing his commands.
So say what?
Blessed are those doing his commands.
No. You ain't blessed. Say it again.
Blessed are those doing his commands.
That they may what?
So that the authority shall be theirs unto the tree of life, and to enter through the gates into the city.
So see, well, I'm telling you, boy, woo! Some jokers is not going to be entering to the gates. We be singing, enter in the gates. You ain't keeping no commandments. You ain't entering. You ain't keeping the law. You ain't blessed. You ain't got no delight. You ain't, hey. Read it one more time, man. That was good.
Blessed are those doing his commands.
His commandments.
So that the authority shall be theirs unto the tree of life, and to enter through the gates into the city.
So family, the faith in HaMashiach and the keeping of his commandments is how we're going to enter through the gates of the city. And what the Most High qualifies us as when you do these things, he says, now you're blessed. Now how is it, they'll say we blessed. I never understood that. Anytime I've done wrong, I ain't never been blessed. I received some strict penalties, boy. I mean, I did crime, I went to jail. You mean to tell me that if I don't do right, I'm gonna be blessed? Don't make no sense. All right. Here's another scripture. I know you don't have it. I'm gonna pull it up right here. It's talking about those that seek the law. You gotta have a heart to seek Yah's law. All right, Sirach 32 and 15. Now listen, understand this. The law was to set apart Israel, was to set apart Israel, all right? But other nations that came or engrafted, according to, I think it's Numbers 15, if they wanted to partake and be a part of Israel, they had to do it too. All right? Sirach 32 and 15. Whosoever now. So that kills that. It's just only Israel. No, it's other nations too. Israel's supposed to be the light. Israel's supposed to be the example. Israel's supposed to teach it. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Sirach 32 and 15. Whoever seeks the law will be nourished by it. Wow. So you mean to tell me the law is going to be something that sustains me? Right. The law is going to be my nutrition, my spiritual nutrition for my soul? Come on. Say, whoa. Hey, man, when y'all looking at a project, I'm like, woo. All right. Whosoever seeks the law will be nourished by it. The hypocrite. Somebody say hypocrite. Hypocrite. The ones that say you don't need the law. Okay, I'm sorry. The hypocrite will find it a stumbling block. Wow. Sirach 32 and 15. All right. Proverbs 7, 1 through 2. Any questions so far, family? You good? You got about, I'm sorry, we got about 11 minutes. I appreciate you. I know it's a long day. We got 2 more hours to Shabbat is over.
Proverbs 7, verse 1 and 2.
1 and 2.
My son, guard my words.
Guard my words.
And treasure up my commands with you.
Okay.
Guard my commands and live. And my Torah as the apple of your eye.
Wow. So as the apple of the Most High Yah's eye. Israel is the apple of Yah's eye. What are we to do again? He calls us his son. What's he say?
Guard my commands and live, and my Torah as the apple of your eye.
All right, but I'm going back to verse 1. Verse 1 says,
My son, guard my words.
so here we go. So for us in America, keep my words. Lay up my commandments with thee. Keep my commandments and live. So you mean to tell me the only way to truly live is to walk in Yah's commandments? I mean, this totally kills that narrative of the law being done away with. And understand this, the things I'm saying is, this is Yah's intent of the law. When he gave you this law, he's saying this is how you need to look at it. So what's happening is some Gentiles have gotten this Bible and really don't understand Yah's thought and mind towards these laws. That's why they said you got to get rid of it. And if as we understood earlier, if it's our heritage and it identifies us, we've got to force y'all to get rid of it. We've got to put schemes and devices to cause you to get rid of it. All right. Romans 7, 12, and 14. We're entered into the New Testament. We said it, some of y'all said it earlier, y'all was throwing them out, so we're just gonna do that, and then I'm gonna pull up some laws. Hopefully I'll be able to pull up the list and I'll let you see things that you can do. Now understand this, when people are saying nobody can do all 613 laws, you're absolutely right. I'm not saying you can't. You know what? I'm not saying you can't, because 103 of those laws were just sacrificial laws. We know that HaMashiach, our Savior, did them for us. There are laws that are contained in the land. Right. There are laws on leprosy. All right, anybody got leprosy? We got shops, we got doctors in here, everybody, and nurses. So when's the last time we heard of some major ordeal with leprosy? Now, if there is leprosy among us, there are laws instructing us on how to deal with those that have leprosy. There's laws on kings. All right. Dealing with dead bodies. All right. There are Levitical laws. Let me stop. Yeah, there are Levitical laws that deal with civil laws, but there's something else that deal with laws specific to the land. Family. When anytime Israel was in captivity, there were certain laws that they knew they could not do in captivity. But maintaining the prayer and everything else, maintaining the set apartness, you can always do in the land of captivity. That's right. Period. Matter of fact, we know in the Maccabees, hey, Israel, those that had a whole heart towards the Most High, they rather die. And if any of y'all have seen any of the material by Benaiah and Israel, man, they want us to get rid of our circumcision. No. Let me pull this up. I'm going to tell you how bad this religious system is. Make a detour. I really want to show this. This is how bad it was. This is Constantine's Christian creed. All right? Christian creed. I renounce all customs and legalisms of unleavened bread. Was unleavened bread a law given to us? That's part of our feast, part of our heritage. All right? And the sacrifice of lambs of the Hebrews. And all other feasts of the Hebrews, their sacrifices are to the law. Their prayers are to the law. Aspirations and purifications, there's laws of purification, family. All right? Propitiaries and fast. Fasting is part of the law. And fasting is not supposed to be a grueling thing. All right? The new moons. The Sabbaths, the superstitions, their hymns, their chants, observance and synagogues. Absolutely everything, I say everything Jewish, all right? Every law, right, and custom, as if afterwards I shall wish to deny and return the Jewish superstitions to them, or shall be found of the eating with the Jews. Any feasting, it says, or feasting with them, or secretly conversing. So they didn't even want you to be conversing with these people. And condemning them. It says, confuting with them and condemning their faith, then let the trembling and of Cain and the leprosy of Gehazi be upon them. So that's constantly basically giving a curse, saying, hey man, let the stuff that happened with Cain and Gehazi come upon you if you want to sit here and embrace those laws. This was Constantine's Christian creed. Hey man, that's how diabolical it was because understand this. In all other captivities, we've seen where Israel would do what? They would repent, they would turn, they would keep the law, and then what? You would rise them back up. Right. So now we're in a you got to ask yourself, after that 7 AD, what happened? You know, I know we said, and that's where there's other different books. Ron Dalton does a great job. Rebirth of a Nation does a great job. They all give that. But this last captivity, by removing even the understanding of the law, we have not been in a place where we can repent. But right now, the timing, somebody say timing. The timing of Yahuah is upon us. And Yah's Spirit is moving upon our hearts, causing us to remember that which He's given to us. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
All right. Confirmation on what you're sharing about the law. Article just came out in regards to the Prime Minister of Israel, which is Netanyahu. Reportedly revealed at the Likud conference on Wednesday some remarkable facts of the basic law he submitted last Thursday, which would enshrine Israel's status as the nation for the Jewish people. Netanyahu told the head Likus division at the conference that he intends to make the Hebrew calendar, which is based on Jewish law, the official calendar of Israel. The new law also would establish the Talmud, the core work of Jewish law, as the official basis for Israel, for the Israeli state law. The Talmud being in direct contradiction to the law of the times. So that this is a time where things are being distorted. If you hadn't had a chance to research Noahide laws, get into that. Noah, IDE. Very, very scary.
They're going to do as the Most High is raising up His people by His Spirit, and we are returning. You better believe at the same time, Ashatan is about to put something right along. And it's amazing. What's going to be crazy is most of those that follow the religion of Christianity, they don't understand that the tentacles of the Talmud, or the Jewish people, is controlling every aspect of it. So you're gonna have. I believe that you got like sincere Christians that they love who they call Jesus or whatever, but because of their rejection of the law, they're not gonna be able to enter in. Now, don't get me wrong. Are there some? I'll just say this: I'm not gonna condemn a person that's a Christian saying I'm a Christian and I'm keeping the law. I think that's great. That's good. They may not want to agree with us that, you really Israel. They may not want to, but if they say, well, I'm a believer in Christ per se, and they're saying, I want to keep the laws. Listen, I want the direct laws. I want to and stuff like that, man. I believe that you continue to pray for them, continue to encourage them in their walk. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. All right, Romans 7, 12 and 14. Yes, sir. What's it?
So that the Torah truly is set apart, and the command set apart, and righteous, and good. Therefore has that...
I'm sorry, I do not want to read 12, 13, and 14. All right,
so 13?
Yep.
Therefore has that which is good become death to me? Let it not be. But the sin, that sin might be manifest, was working death in me through what is good, so that sin through the command might become an exceedingly great sin.
What it says?
14, for we know that the Torah is spiritual.
So family, listen. If the law is done away with, then all forms of spirituality is done away with. If somebody says that the law is done away with, then being spiritual is done away with. So when you hear Paul having the whole book of Galatians, walk in the Spirit, receive the Spirit, receive the newness of the Spirit, if is done away with, then that concept of spirituality is done away with, family. Because the law in the end is spiritual. Not only are you walking it out naturally, but it's dealing with your soul, your intent, your thought, the way you think, the way you process. It's dealing with that. So it's dealing with man, what's it, man? Body, soul, spirit. Man's a trichotomy, right? Spirit, soul, and body. So that's what the law is doing. Keep going. Before we know.
But I am fleshly, sold under sin.
So here we go. Most of the time people say, well, yeah, the law is perfect, but I'm a man of flesh. So? Everybody's a man of flesh. That doesn't mean that you don't need to do it. That's what I understand. And then here's the thing. When you ask anybody, most of the time, you ask them, what is sin? It's missing the mark. No, let's go to how the Most High defines sin. It's transgressing something. It's transgressing instructions that he gave us, which once again, these instructions was a delight. It was to prove our heart. It was to convert us. It was, we were to have a delight in it. It was you all right, baby girl? He's all right. It was our heritage. It was all these things. So, in my closing, this is what you need to order, family. Stop. I want y'all to see this. Hey, I can't have it working, honey. I'm a preacher by nature. It's hard being a teacher. No, listen. It is hard being a teacher. I love to debate more than I love to teach because I like, you be searching. That's just me. But I want to just go over these things real quick. So, family, hey, let's go ahead and stand up as we make these declarations about what the law is. Hallelujah. Somebody say hallelujah. Give us Yahuah some praise in this place. Hallelujah. Glory to God. Glory to God. So let's repeat after me. Say the law. The law is healing. Is healing. The law. The law is prosperity. Is prosperity. The law. The law is wisdom. Is wisdom. The law. The law is perfect. Is perfect. The law. The law is right. Is right. The law. The law is radiant. Is radiant. The law. The law is truth. Is truth. The law. The law is righteous. Is righteous. The law. The law is pure. Is pure. The law. The law endures forever. Endures forever. The law. The law is firm. Is firm. The law. The law is more precious. Is more precious than gold. Than gold. The law. The law is sweeter. Is sweeter than honey. Than honey. The law. The law is a warning. Warning. The law. The law is a reward. Reward. The law. The law is a discerner. Discerner. The law. The law is a keeper. Keeper. The law. The law is freedom. Freedom. The law. The law gives peace. Peace. The law. The law is holy. Holy. The law. The law is good. Good. The law is just. The law is spirit. Spirit. The law is pure. Pure. The law is understand. Understand. The law is knowledge. Knowledge. The law. Say the law. The law. The law. The law is love. Love. Hallelujah. That's what the law is.
The law.
Hey, we make rap
Video. Tom, it's funny because everything you just decreed, Yahuah fulfilled.
Wow.
I didn't come to do away with the law. I come to what? He fulfilled every one of those things.
The law.
Right, the word made flesh.
that your word is a lamp unto our feet and a light unto our path. We thank you today for being edified. Father, as we continue to travel upon these roads of understanding your word, be patient with us, Father.
Yes.
Let us grow in patience. Let us grow in patience. Let us grow in the wisdom and the richness of your word. Father, let us have a desire to seek your word. Let us have a desire to seek your law. Not trying to push it down people's throat or anything else, but most of all, Father, as we walk in your law, we know that we're going to be that city that's set upon the hill. That we're going to be a light to the nations. That many that may be confounded, we're going to have a word of wisdom because your law is wisdom. We thank you for your love. We thank you for restoring unto us the joy of thy salvation. So, Father, I speak peace upon us. I speak restoration. I speak clarity and direction in this hour. Father, I declare that the gifts and the talents that you've laid before your people, that we'll begin to walk in them. For the gifts of Yah are spiritual. For the gifts of God are true. You've given us these gifts and these talents and everything else, Father, and we declare that we're going to walk in them because your law instructs us to. Father, let us hide the word of God in our heart that we will not sin against you. Hallelujah. Amen. Father, cover our homes on each and every side. I pray protection upon our homes. I pray that us as husbands, that we continue to be the priests, that we continue to be the protectors, that we continue to lead our families unto green pastures. Yes. Father, I pray for our wives, as they have been our support, as they have been the ones that have been praying for even us as husbands. I thank you for our wives having a sense of heightened discernment when we can't see as men. So we bless you. I don't look for them to be on our back, but I see them as being upon our side. Hallelujah. Father, we lift up our children even as they are in this time of summer. Let us not get faith. Let us not get lax, but let us continue to speak the words of Yahuah over their life. Let us continue to prophesy the word of Yah upon their life. Let us continue to pray for them and to instill in them the truth of your word. Hallelujah. So we bless you. We thank you. Come on and just worship God right now. We bless your name, God. For you are great and greatly to be praised. From the rising of the sun to the going down of the same, thy name shall be praised. Thy name shall be lifted up. Come on and cry out to God. Father, we bless you. Father, we extol you. Father, you're worthy. You're worthy. You're worthy. Come on and say he's worthy. He's worthy. He's worthy. He's worthy. Listen, right here is a very important time. This is a time that you get into worship because this connects you to the mind and the heart of God. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. You're holy, you're righteous. Truly there is none like you. For he says, for the Father seeks
Yahusha HaMashiach. Glory. Love your family. Shalom.
Anybody got any things you like to say?